The morning sky over China's Sichuan province glows pale gold, the kind of light that promises an uneventful day. I'm aboard Sichuan Airlines Flight 8633, an Airbus A319 bound from Chongqing to Lhasa, Tibet. 128 people fill the cabin, families, monks, business travelers. 2 pilots sit up front, Captain Liu Chuanjian and First Officer Xu Ruichen, veterans of high-altitude routes where the air thins and the mountains claw at the horizon. At 6:26 a.m., the jet rises cleanly from the runway, engines humming with mechanical confidence. The air traffic controller bids them a safe climb to 32,000 feet. It's just another day above the clouds. Oxygen masks tucked away, coffee brewing, the faint clatter of service carts moving through the aisles. You trust this routine. You believe the cockpit glass ahead of you, that seamless curve between pilots and sky, is as permanent as the mountains below. No one thinks of the bolts, seals, and pressure that hold it all together. Captain Liu keeps his tone light. "Weather's clear all the way to Lhasa," he says over the intercom. The cabin settles into silence, the kind that feels almost sacred in the upper air. Outside, snow-tipped ridges slide beneath the wings like slow waves of stone. Then 20 minutes later, something faint but distinct. An irregular hum near the right side windshield. Barely audible beneath the engine drone. The captain notes it, runs his eyes across the instrument panel. Everything reads normal. No warning lights, no vibration indicators. Just a whisper where there should be none. At 32,000 feet, the hum becomes a tremor. It's subtle at first, like the faint buzz of a loose panel. First Officer Xu glances at the right-hand windshield, its thick laminated glass shimmering faintly in the morning light. He frowns. The temperature outside reads -40 degrees Celsius, the air so thin that even sound seems to move slower. Up here, small sounds matter. They're the language of machines trying to speak before breaking. No one knows it yet, but that whisper at the window will soon rip open into the most violent silence imaginable. A silence filled with wind, ice, and a fight for survival against the roof of the world. He leans closer. "Captain, I think we've got a noise from the right windshield." Captain Liu studies the gauges. No warnings, no pressure alerts. Yet the sound has changed. Less a hum now, more a soft tapping, like fingernails drumming on the hull. The Airbus continues slicing through the stratosphere above the Tibetan plateau, oblivious to the tiny mechanical rebellion taking place in its nose. "Check the heating," Liu says calmly. The windshield heaters are essential at this altitude, keeping the glass from frosting or cracking. Xu adjusts the switches, scanning the system display. All green. In the cabin, passengers sip tea, snapping photos through oval windows that frame the Himalayas. No one suspects that just meters ahead, the aircraft's skin is trembling against the vacuum of near space. Another vibration, louder now. A metallic click echoes through the cockpit. Xu stiffens. He presses his palm against the glass and feels it. Barely perceptible movement, as if the window itself is breathing. They radio Chengdu control. "Sichuan 8633, we may have a windshield abnormality," Liu reports, voice steady but clipped. The controller acknowledges, unaware that those few words are the start of an aviation nightmare. For a brief, deceptive moment, the noise stops. Silence fills the cockpit. Liu exhales, thinking maybe it was an illusion, a trick of pressure differentials. Then, an explosive bang like a gunshot. The right windshield shatters outward in a single violent exhale. In an instant, the air is gone. The cabin roars to life in chaos as Flight 8633 loses its skin to the sky. The sound is deafening, a white roar that devours thought. I can't hear my own breath. The cockpit becomes a wind tunnel as the windshield disintegrates outward, leaving a gaping hole where calm had lived seconds ago. The air rushes in at nearly 800 kilometers per hour, freezing and violent, sucking papers, oxygen masks, and a scream into the stratosphere. First Officer Xu is yanked from his seat. His harness catches, but half his body is outside the aircraft, arms flailing against the torrent. The temperature plunges instantly. Frost blooms on the instrument panels. Liu Chuanjian, hands stiff with cold, slams one hand on the yoke and the other on the throttles. "Captain, the windshield's gone!" A flight attendant shouts through the interphone, her voice barely audible. "Descend! Emergency descent!" Liu yells into his headset, though the microphones are useless in this storm of air. He forces the nose down manually. Autopilot disengaged, alarms blaring, the Airbus trembling like a struck bell. Shu's headset cord snaps away. His face and arms are cut by flying shards. He's conscious, but barely. Liu can see his first officer's body pinned by the suction, his life literally hanging out the cockpit window. Every instinct screams to pull him back, but at this altitude, any wrong move could stall the plane. Liu grabs the interphone again, shouting into the gale. "Cabin depressurization. Emergency descent to 10,000 feet. Oxygen masks. Now." The attendants move with mechanical precision, securing the aisles, dragging an injured steward who'd been thrown by the shock. Passengers grip their armrests as the aircraft drops through cloud, the world outside a blur of snow and blue. "Chengdu Control, this is Sichuan 8633, Liu gasps. "Windshield failure. Cabin depressurized. Request emergency landing." The reply is distorted by static, but the controller's voice carries one clear word. "Understood." No one knows if they can actually make it back, but they're still flying, and in the chaos, that's all that matters. The cockpit is a storm of ice and wind. I can't feel my face, my lips are numb, my eyes sting. Every control movement is a battle against invisible hands tearing at the plane. The airspeed fluctuates wildly, the altimeter spinning as we dive through turbulent layers. Oxygen masks dangle like ghostly vines snapping in the wind. I can barely hear Shu's ragged breathing through the roar. His torso is still half outside. Frost clings to his uniform. He's alive, barely. I tighten my grip on the controls and push the nose down. The air pressure differential is enormous. The aircraft fights me like a living thing. "Mayday, Mayday, Sichuan 8633. I try again into the radio. Static. Then faintly an answer. "Sichuan 8633, say your situation." "Windshield gone. First officer injured. Descending immediately." My voice trembles, part from cold, part from disbelief that this is real. At 26,000 feet, the oxygen masks finally stabilize. The temperature in the cockpit is still far below freezing, but the instruments, miraculously, work. The vibration is relentless. It feels as if the plane might tear itself apart. We drop past mountain peaks that claw close enough to touch. The terrain radar flashes red. One wrong turn, and we'd vanish against the Himalayas. I level slightly, easing the descent. The cabin crew reports passengers conscious, oxygen masks on. No decompression fatalities. Relief hits like a flood, but it's short-lived. Fuel calculations flash across my mind. We're losing altitude fast, but Chongqing is too far. Chengdu, that's the only hope. Prepare landing in Chengdu. I bark over the interphone. My fingers ache as I reset flaps manually. Automation is useless. This is pure instinct now. Every minute feels like a lifetime. The co-pilot groans. He's alive. I can't turn to look. The control column trembles in my hands like it wants to leap free. At 16,000 feet, the roar begins to soften, pressure returning. For the first time since the explosion, I dare to think we might make it. Chengdu Airport appears through the haze, a thin gray strip surrounded by mist and rain. My hands are frozen to the controls, every joint aching. I bring the Airbus down manually, hydraulics whining in protest. The landing gear deploys with a shudder that feels like relief itself. The tower clears us for an emergency landing. Runway 2 cleared to land. Fire and rescue standing by. The approach is unstable. The right side of the cockpit remains open to the wind, the broken frame screaming like a wounded animal. Visibility is poor, instruments flickering. I fight the crosswind, every nerve focused on keeping the plane level. The wheels touch down hard, once then twice before the aircraft roars along the runway. Reverse thrust, brakes. The A319 slides, then steadies, slowing under the downpour. When the engines spool down, silence falls like a curtain. No more roaring wind, no alarms. just human breath. Cabin crew begin to cheer, then cry. Passengers clasp hands, some praying, some laughing through tears. I turn to Shu. He's pale but alive, frostbitten, bleeding yet conscious. The paramedics rush in as soon as the doors open. The air outside feels impossibly warm. The investigation later reveals the cause: improper maintenance of the windshield bolts. One of the fasteners had been replaced incorrectly months earlier. Its torque slightly off. At 32,000 feet, that slightly became fatal. The explosive decompression could have torn the plane apart, but it didn't, because two pilots refused to give up control. Captain Liu Chuanjian would later say, "It was just instinct. I did what any pilot should do." But the truth is, very few could have done what he did that day. Out of 128 aboard, not one life was lost. And in the silence after the storm, as maintenance procedures changed across fleets worldwide, Flight 8633 became more than an incident. It became proof that human skill can still outrun catastrophe. If that stunned you, then you need to see what happens in this video. We'll uncover the mystery of the Alaska Airlines Flight 261 in a way you won't believe. Click here now. I'll see you there.